Internet Use Violations, Threats Over the World Wide Web, a case study by Ginger Owusu for EDL 850. What do I know about this case? First of all, I know that the school has a prestigious reputation that wants to be maintained. I also know that the parents are affluent and very well off, and this may give them a sense of power. I also know that students have access to the latest technology and probably are very skilled in using it. I also know that there have been numerous complaints from teachers and parents about Mrs. Walker's class. I also know that her classes are highly stressful for the students as they are competing for high grades. I do know that she is qualified as a teacher, but she does not have the experience that other teachers have. And she's been unable to successfully implement the suggestions that have been given to her by her superior in order to make her class a better environment for students. This is what I need to know. What are Mrs. Walker's claims about Randy Franks true? Does he have the knowledge to create the website? How serious is the threat on the website? Are there any other students with grudges against Mrs. Walker and the knowledge to create a website? Are there any students currently in Mrs. Walker's classes who are failing? How valid are the complaints about Ms. Walker's poor teaching methods? Where was the email sent from? If it was sent from the school, then I will know it was a student. Was the website created using school property? Has Dr. Forbes thoroughly observed and evaluated Ms. Walker's classes to determine if her methods are valid? And what are the school's policies about appropriate use of the internet by students? The problem is a student or parent has become so frustrated with inaction on the part of Dr. Forbes about Ms. Walker's rigorous methods, he or she has turned to digital media to vent their issues in a drastic way. I know this because there have been many complaints already, suggestions for improvement have been unsuccessful, and there are high levels of stress because of her methods. What I don't know are how effective the suggestions Dr. Forbes gave her were, how seriously Ms. Walker has taken criticisms about her teaching, and if the person who sent the email also created the website. It could be two different people. My proposed plan of action consists of 9 steps. Step 1. Find out if there are any other disgruntled students who may have the knowledge to create a website. So far I only have one suspect, and that is based solely on Miss Walker's observations of him in class, which I don't even know yet are true. Step 2, I would ask Randy Franks if he knows anything about the website. I would do this in a way that is not confrontational or accusing. I would just say that he, I noticed that he has lots of computer knowledge and he may know something about it. And I will take him at his word. Step 3, I would have the district technologist try to determine where the email came from. If it came from the school, then I will know that more than likely it was a student. If it came from outside the school, then there's a possibility it could be a parent or a student. Step 4, address the issues in Ms. Walker's class and brainstorm ideas for improvement with her. Obviously, her class has some issues because of all the complaints that I have been receiving. But where Dr. Forbes failed, I believe, is he did not talk to her about her class. He just gave her suggestions, which may not have even been relevant to her class. Step 5, I would hold an open meeting for parents to come and voice concerns and offer suggestions. Part of the problem is there have been many complaints and there seems to be no action. In this meeting, I would let the parents voice their ideas about what can be done. Step 6, I would have a school assembly to address the consequences of posting information on the internet. Students would come to this and we would talk about the consequences of internet and how posting such things as threats can be harmful to those involved. I would not specifically address this issue. It would be a general kind of assembly, just as a kind of for your information kind of assembly. Step 7, I would create a website where students may anonymously submit complaints. There would be rigid rules, obviously no vulgar language, no blatant lies, those kinds of things. And I would also assign a staff member to be the website administrator and to screen complaints before they're posted and to, to check for the language, for things like that. 8, I would create a class which every freshman must take in their first year of high school, which talks about such things as internet etiquette, the consequences of bad choices, and those kinds of things. And step 9, I would evaluate the atmosphere in Ms. Walker's class throughout the year to see if there are any improvements and make adjustments as needed. This would be after we have brainstormed her ideas to improve her class and to see if those suggestions are working, and if not, we can talk again and see if we can adjust our methods. My strategies for implementing this plan: I would apprise any assistant principals of the situation, just to let them know that this has happened, and to ask them to keep it quiet. I would review current policies about student computer use, check things like how well they are monitored, when students have access to the computers, how often histories are checked, what kind of access they have, and those kinds of things. And I would sit down with Ms. Walker and discuss strategies for improving classroom morale in her class. I wouldn't just say, here, do this, this, and this. I would talk to her and say, okay, tell me what your concerns are, and I would let her know what some of the concerns I have received are, and we would talk about it together and work together to create a plan. I would not bring in the police at this point until I've gathered a little more information. At this point, I don't know that any laws have been broken, and there is no point in involving the police until I know for certain. Doing that can just bring attention to the school that it doesn't want, and can put undue stress on students. I would also maybe suggest that Ms. Walker find a mentor among more experienced teachers to help her to deal with things like student discipline, lesson plans, those kinds of things. Sometimes having someone who is a mentor with more experience can be very beneficial. I would also try to keep the situation as quiet as possible to not disrupt normal school function. I would want to make sure that the students are bothered by this as little as possible. I don't want to disrupt their normal routines. I would also be more purposeful about talking to Ms. Walker's students to check stress levels in her class, to see what they think and how they see her class, and those kinds of things. And I would also have regular meetings with Ms. Walker to talk about her frustrations and her triumphs as she implements these new strategies. Promoting the success of the students. The school has a reputation to maintain, and with these kinds of situations, if it became public that this has happened, some of the parents might decide to take their children out of the school, and this can be stressful for the students. And even though they wouldn't be under my jurisdiction anymore, I would still want to make sure that their well-being is okay. I also have a responsibility to ensure that my teachers have a safe environment. I need to make sure that check the validity of the threats, take the appropriate actions as needed, and to make sure that Ms. Walker has a safe environment in which to work. If she doesn't feel safe, she can't do her job. I would also make sure that, again, like I said earlier, I would not contact the police yet until I have gathered more information about what is really going on, because I don't want to cause undue stress on the rest of the students. And Ms. Walker is obviously a well-qualified teacher. She just needs some help with structuring her class and talking to her about the changes rather than just giving her instructions makes her a part of that process, which might help with the implementation. If we come together and work together to make a plan, she's more likely to use it and to implement those and improve the morale in her class. And holding the assembly and creating the class helps address the problem without singling out any single student. At this point, we don't even know if it was a student. It could be a parent, and those kinds of things. And the only person that we suspect is has been incriminated only by Miss Walker's word, which is not enough to say, he did it. And keeping the situation as quiet as possible would keep it from getting out of hand and causing any unnecessary stress and disruptions to the other students. And creating the class for the freshmen will help with situations like this later on down the road, hopefully. What I was thinking and feeling about this case, this is a pretty scary situation. I'm sure Miss Walker is very disturbed by this. You have to take it seriously, but you don't want to overreact either. It needs to be handled with extreme care. Like I said, it should be taken seriously, but careful not to overreact and cause unnecessary stress. Finding the culprit may be difficult given the fluid nature of the internet, unless the technologist can pinpoint a specific address or a specific computer. It will be really hard to find out who did this. If they're really up to date, there are ways to bounce the address off of different areas and hide the real location and those kinds of things. And it reminds me of my high school chemistry teacher. I took an honors chemistry class in high school, and the teacher was very, very strict, very rigorous. I was an honors student, and that was the first time I'd ever made a C in a class. And I know that several of my classmates were also feeling it, and she ended up not teaching the honors class the following year. She taught just the regular chemistry class. She was a very nice lady. She was just very, very strict in her teaching methods. Unresolved issues with this case. Most obvious is who created the website and sent the email. They may not be the same person. It could be a student came across the website and then sent the email. It's also how to help Miss Walker. If she's reluctant to change, the situation may just escalate. If she thinks that she already knows everything, she may not want to change for the environment. And how to handle the person or persons who did this. I would need to know exactly what laws if any, they have broken, and how to further proceed from there. And whether or not to involve the police. As I stated earlier, I need more information. I need to know if a law was broken, if anything like that has happened, and if contacting the police is a valid thing to do. How did I demonstrate a sense of integrity? I took the situation seriously, but did not overreact or jump to conclusions. I took responsibility of the situation and directed how it was handled. And I demonstrated ethical behavior by ensuring the safety of all my students and the teachers. I treated people fairly by not assuming that Randy Franks was the culprit and respecting his word when I talked to him. And taking Miss Walker's concern seriously and investigating the matter. And keeping the matter quiet as long as needed, so those who are involved are not exposed to undue ridicule or stress or anything like that. I demonstrate a professional code of ethics by keeping the people who need to know in the loop and up to date, such as the assistant principal. And I also demonstrate a personal code of ethics by assuming Randy Franks is innocent until proven guilty. And I demonstrate a professional code of ethics by helping Miss Walker resolve the issues in her classroom in a way that is respectful to her and her abilities, and ensuring that she can become a better teacher and become an asset to our school.